You want to see a Pedro Pascal movie? You want to see a Pedro Pascal movie? Or do you want to see a Pedro Pascal movie? Which Pedro Pascal movie do you want to see?
A string of blockbusters, millions of fans, and thousands of accolades, Pedro Pascal is riding high at the pinnacle of Hollywood fame, starring in globally celebrated multi-million-dollar hits like Materialists, Eddington, The Fantastic Four, and The Mandalorian. From an overlooked name in Hollywood, Pedro Pascal has undergone a stunning transformation, rising to become a screen king in less than a decade. Adored by fans as the nation's dad, praised endlessly by critics, and a star player coveted by every A-list director.
But daddy is a state of mind, you know what I'm saying? I'm your daddy.
The aura of self-made success was a facade, the wealth tied to a father with a controversial legal past, and the Ignite empire nothing more than an empty shell. What led this so-called poker genius from the pinnacle of fame to the depths of truth? To uncover the answer, join us now as we embark on a journey to lift the curtain on the story of an insecure trust fund kid who tried to build a fabricated kingdom only to end up as the subject of widespread ridicule. Alone, or does it rest on hidden pieces the public has yet to see? To uncover the answer, join us now on a journey to peel back the glittering mask of Pedro Pascal, diving deep into the truth behind the stage lights, where talent, power, and untold secrets collide. Pedro Pascal is more than just a star. He's a cultural phenomenon, a name that dominates every corner of modern media. Turn on the TV and he's there in The Mandalorian. Scroll through X and you'll catch his charming smile and interview clips. Open your phone and Pascal's image floods everything from glowing articles to viral memes. This relentless presence is a testament to his remarkable transformation from a forgotten supporting actor in Hollywood to a screen king celebrated worldwide. Yet, the dazzling fame Pedro Pascal has so swiftly attained acts as a powerful mirror, inadvertently exposing shadows that the public can't ignore. The questions surrounding Pedro Pascal didn't erupt overnight. They began as whispers on social media, fleeting comments on X about his interactions with female colleagues at public events, a touch on the shoulder, a lingering handshake that gradually became focal points of attention. From the beloved nation's dad persona, Pascal suddenly found himself under a lens of scrutiny where every gesture is dissected and every glance from those around him becomes a clue. In an era where the public is no longer just a passive audience, social media platforms have swiftly transformed into arenas where questions about Pascal are dissected without mercy. Users with remarkable keenness have turned themselves into investigators, scrutinizing every gesture and expression in shared video clips. This has led to provocative questions that jolt many awake, such as why does Pedro Pascal consistently display overly familiar gestures with female colleagues, even those who are married or engaged? This question, like a stone tossed into a still lake, has stirred a wave of debate, unearthing a flood of past evidence to fuel speculation. Old clips and long-forgotten images, once buried in the relentless stream of media, are now being brought to light. Video montages accompanied by suggestive captions have surfaced. This isn't the first time. Look at how he interacts with these women. It's clearly questionable.
Amazing. Thank you.
And then on the delicate line between admiration and skepticism, the biggest controversy surrounding Pedro Pascal erupted like a storm during the 2025 promotional campaign for Fantastic Four. Appearing alongside Vanessa Kirby as the film's leading pair, Pascal was captured in moments by media and fan lenses that sparked intense scrutiny. At this promotional event, Pascal repeatedly displayed overly familiar gestures toward Kirby, a lingering, deliberate touch on her shoulder, a hand lightly grazing her back as they walked, and hand-holding in shared photos that seemed to go beyond the professional camaraderie typically seen among celebrities. These actions, set against the backdrop of Kirby being pregnant and engaged to Paul Mescal, sparked a fierce wave of outrage on X, where the public labeled them as alarmingly tactless. The criticism intensified as online communities, with remarkable sharpness and persistence, swiftly unearthed past videos to paint a clearer picture of his behavior. What escalated the controversy further were indications that this wasn't the first time Pascal had crossed boundaries. A particularly striking moment came from a 2023 event where Pascal touched the chin of Giada Colagrande, Willem Dafoe's wife, during a conversation. Though brief, lasting only a few seconds, this gesture was seen as unnecessary and overly familiar, especially since Colagrande was not a direct colleague of his. Similarly, a clip from a 2022 red carpet event further fueled perceptions of unusual behavior, showing Pascal embracing his former co-star Sarah Paulson in a hug that lasted longer than what is typically expected. In the video, Paulson appeared visibly tense, attempting to create distance shortly after, a detail fans couldn't overlook. She looked like she wanted to escape that hug, one fan remarked. These moments, when pieced together, formed a pattern of behavior that the public couldn't dismiss, prompting many to assert, this isn't friendliness, this is a series of problematic actions. Almost instantly, the power of social media, particularly X, turned this controversy into a blazing phenomenon. The hashtag #PedroPascalWatch quickly became a focal point, amassing a collection of videos, screenshots, and detailed analyses of Pascal's body language and the reactions of those around him. Memes comparing Pascal to James Dokes from Dexter, complete with the iconic line, "Surprise, motherfucker," weren't just humorous, they served as a bold warning. We've noticed something off and we're not letting it slide. These memes, spreading like wildfire, amplified public concern, transforming the issue from scattered online discussions into a full-blown public debate, shaking the polished image of Pascal. Amid the storm of criticism over his behavior, Pedro Pascal and his PR team swiftly raised what seemed like an impenetrable shield: anxiety. According to repeated explanations in interviews and official posts, Pascal has struggled with anxiety since childhood, and his overly familiar gestures, like touching shoulders, holding hands, or prolonged hugs, are his way of seeking comfort, a remedy to soothe an unsettled mind during high-pressure public events. At first glance, this explanation seemed to tug at the audience's heartstrings, evoking sympathy for a star grappling with psychological challenges under the spotlight. However, as cracks in his narrative began to show, the public wasn't so quick to let this excuse sweep the issue under the rug. They soon raised pointed questions. If Pedro Pascal needs physical contact to cope with anxiety, why doesn't he touch Oscar Isaac's shoulder or hold Ewan McGregor's hand during joint appearances? Why is it only Vanessa Kirby, Sarah Paulson, or Giada Colagrande? This question, sharp as an arrow, pierced the credibility of his explanation. Indeed, Pascal's unusual behavior tends to focus solely on prominent, charismatic women who are at the center of public attention. This argument gained traction when fans uncovered promotional videos featuring him and Bella Ramsey, who plays Ellie in The Last of Us. Specifically, during promotional events, Pascal consistently maintained a professional distance with Ramsey, with no shoulder touches or prolonged hugs. Why doesn't his anxiety need relief when he's standing next to Bella Ramsey? A post on X questioned, accompanied by a clip comparing Pascal's interactions with Kirby and Ramsey. This stark contrast not only undermined his explanation, but also highlighted what appears to be deliberate and selective behavior on his part. And so, Pedro Pascal's anxiety explanation, though crafted as a shield to quell the wave of criticism, quickly crumbled due to its flawed logic. This not only caused fans' admiration to waver, but also sparked deeper suspicions about the role of the media in protecting him. While the public began noticing Pascal's questionable behavior, major publications, the so-called sharpest voices in the media, remained silent about his oversteps. Instead, they continued to praise Pascal as a flawless icon. This led to a second wave of speculation. Is Hollywood deliberately turning a blind eye, shielding Pedro Pascal under a veneer of glowing accolades? And if so, why him specifically, and not another artist? To answer this, we must peel back the layers of the dazzling aura Hollywood has meticulously constructed around him. Beneath the image of a beloved star lies a far more complex story. A tale of how a powerful industry protects its golden child, despite the cracks becoming increasingly visible. First, consider how Pascal entered Hollywood as a figure of social virtue. He has openly supported LGBTQ+ rights, particularly championing his transgender sister Lux Pascal, and hasn't hesitated to criticize conservative viewpoints, such as those of J.K. Rowling, or to address sensitive political topics.
I want people to be safe and to be protected, and I want very much to live on the right side of history.
These actions not only won Pascal the affection of the public, but also positioned him as a perfect moral beacon in the eyes of Hollywood's power players. As a result, through an unspoken agreement, Pedro Pascal swiftly became Hollywood's chosen one. No one might have noticed these subtle endorsements if the image Hollywood crafted for him hadn't been a double-edged sword, leading audiences to realize he was being overly protected. This favoritism toward Pascal became even more apparent when the public began connecting the dots and comparing him to his former co-star Gina Carano. While Carano was fired from The Mandalorian and ostracized by the industry over controversial social media statements, Pascal's actions, viewed by many as crossing personal boundaries and publicly disrespecting female colleagues, were largely ignored by the media. In fact, if fans hadn't noticed and discussed these issues, the typically sharp media outlets would have remained completely silent on the matter. A widely shared post on X, garnering thousands of reposts, laid bare this double standard. Gina Carano lost everything over a tweet, but Pedro Pascal can touch female colleagues without permission and still be a beloved star. What game is Hollywood playing? This question not only captured the public's frustration, but also exposed a troubling truth. Pascal seems to have been granted a free pass, too valuable an asset for Hollywood to let slip. Compounding these suspicions, Pascal's relentless presence in 2025 further solidified the Hollywood's darling narrative. In just a few months, he appeared in Materialists alongside Dakota Johnson and Chris Evans, Eddington with Joaquin Phoenix, and took on the role of Reed Richards in Fantastic Four: First Steps, a role set to continue in Avengers: Doomsday and Avengers: Secret Wars. Add to that the announcement of The Mandalorian and Grogu, slated for 2026, and his long-term commitment to Marvel, and it's no wonder audiences feel they can't escape him. This domination of Pascal has led many to a stark conclusion: Pedro Pascal is the golden goose Hollywood is fiercely protecting, regardless of the controversies. After all, without significant backing, a once minor supporting actor like Pedro Pascal could not have skyrocketed to Hollywood's top tier so rapidly. Even the industry's biggest names have rarely achieved such pervasive presence on red carpets, screens, and in nearly every major blockbuster, with massive investments and box office returns at such an intense frequency. In fact, Pascal's constant appearances have left some audiences exasperated, describing the experience as overwhelming. The scandal surrounding Pedro Pascal is more than just a personal story or a fleeting moment of a star buckling under public scrutiny. It's a window into the Hollywood machine, a system driven by sophisticated strategies, where every action, from a warm embrace on the red carpet to an emotional interview, may be part of a larger plan. In Pascal's case, Hollywood appears to be using him as a tool to reshape woke culture, a concept already steeped in controversy, now repurposed to serve commercial interests and reinforce the entertainment industry's influence. Pedro Pascal, with his polished, sensitive, and vulnerable persona, has been crafted by Hollywood into a new kind of icon, a stark departure from the traditional masculine archetypes like John Wayne or Clint Eastwood. Instead, he represents a generation of leading men designed to evoke empathy, particularly among middle-aged female audiences, a demographic Hollywood increasingly targets. Roles like Joel in The Last of Us or Din Djarin in The Mandalorian have positioned Pascal as a national dad figure, a man who is strong yet deeply emotional, willing to show vulnerability, and approachable in a way that feels relatable. However, this image is not solely the result of acting talent or personal charisma, it's the product of a meticulously calculated media strategy. Hollywood recognized that in an era where woke values like diversity, gender equality, and emotional openness resonate with audiences, crafting a star like Pascal, charismatic yet anxious and sensitive, is the perfect way to captivate viewers. Moments like his lingering shoulder touch with Vanessa Kirby during the Fantastic Four promotional campaign, or his warm embrace with Sarah Paulson on the red carpet, weren't mere spontaneous gestures. They were orchestrated to reinforce Pascal's approachable, lovable image, fostering an emotional connection with audiences, especially women. Hollywood's use of woke culture is nothing new. From film marketing campaigns to casting choices, the industry has adeptly turned progressive values into tools for expanding its market. In Pascal's case, his image is tailored to fit a formula: a man who is not only strong, but also emotionally expressive, supportive of modern social values, and vocal about issues like gender equality and minority rights. Yet, this doesn't necessarily mean Hollywood genuinely cares about these values. Instead, woke serves as a glossy veneer, used to polish the images of stars and film projects to maximize profits. For instance, Pascal's frequent portrayal in the media as an anxious man isn't just a personal detail, it's a deliberate tactic to make him more relatable to the public. In an industry where image is everything, stories of Pascal's vulnerability are repeated across interviews, social media posts, and public appearances. This not only makes him a figure audiences can empathize with, but also transforms him into Hollywood's ideal product, a star who feels familiar enough to connect with yet distant enough to maintain an iconic aura. The question is whether Pascal is fully aware of his role in this strategy, or merely a pawn in Hollywood's game. In an industry notorious for manipulation and control, it's plausible that Pascal has been guided to fit this woke archetype. His controversial actions, like overly affectionate red carpet interactions, could stem from media team directives or pressure from producers aiming to capitalize on his image for attention. Whether evidence exists or not, these moments have sparked public skepticism, leading many to wonder, is Pascal freely expressing himself, or is he simply playing another role off-screen? Moreover, Hollywood never lacks new stars to elevate. Pascal, despite being at the peak of his career, is not exempt. The entertainment machine is always ready to spotlight a fresh face when the time comes, and the question today, it's Pedro Pascal, but who's next? Serves as both a warning to him and a reminder of the fleeting nature of fame in this industry. Scandals, big or small, can be leveraged to propel a star upward or drag them down, depending on the agendas of those behind the scenes. While Pascal's scandal lacks definitive proof to condemn him, it underscores a broader truth: the public is growing increasingly wary of what Hollywood tries to sell. In a world where social media empowers audiences to scrutinize every move a celebrity makes, image-building strategies like Pascal's are easily questioned. Furthermore, Hollywood's heavy reliance on woke culture is facing pushback. Many viewers are growing tired of social messages that feel forced into films and celebrity personas. This raises questions about the future of strategies like Pascal's. Will Hollywood double down on this woke archetype, or will it pivot to a new trend as audiences demand greater authenticity? The story surrounding Pedro Pascal is not just a scandal about a celebrity, it's a wake-up call to the complexities of fame in the entertainment world. It reminds us that behind every carefully crafted image lie hidden truths, untold stories, and a power structure ready to protect its interests at all costs. The greatest lesson from this saga is the power of vigilance and collective voices. In an age where social media empowers the public to scrutinize and question, we are no longer passive spectators but active participants capable of challenging constructed narratives and demanding transparency and fairness. Moreover, this story teaches us that the light of fame always comes with the shadow of responsibility. Whether as fans, artists, or storytellers, we must learn to look beyond the surface, resisting the pull of hollow praise or polished facades.